What does it really mean to know yourself? We hear people vaguely talk about wanting to discover themselves, but what does that actually mean? To know yourself, you need to know a little bit about other people, because in many ways, you are the same as others. And I don't mean to say that you are not unique, but because you are human, you share basic human attributes. Once you understand more about what these attributes are, you'll instantly understand yourself better. Knowing yourself isn't about loving yourself or congratulating yourself or constantly criticizing and berating yourself. To really begin to know yourself, you need to be calm and objective. Also, knowing yourself implies that you are one unified being. But if you observe yourself, you will note that you are in fact many things. You have a social self, a work self. Sometimes you are angry perhaps, and sometimes happy. We all contain within us many parts. When we begin to understand the workings of these parts, then we can begin to have a sense of who we really are. So knowing yourself isn't some vague quest. It involves seeing yourself objectively, being honest with yourself about yourself, and not using justifications or rationalizations, but recognizing your own motivations for what they really are. To understand yourself, you need to see yourself clearly, which means putting aside self-flattery or the need to put yourself in the best possible light. To be objective, you need to be calm and relaxed. We call this using the observing self. The observing self is the part of you that is outside of emotion or intellect. When we are angry, we can observe ourselves being angry, so we are not the anger. The observing self is the most detached point of personal observation. Using the observing self isn't about being cold and detached, because we can even observe ourselves being cold and detached. Once we can use the observing self more, we become more effective and less swayed by the automatic dictates of random emotion. Much of our behavior is a result of instinctive learning, and some of our instinctive learnings are inappropriate. For example, you may have had the experience of being introduced to someone who reminds you of someone you knew years ago, perhaps by the way they look or the way they sound, and then emotionally responding to this complete stranger in front of you as if they were the person from your past. This is a process called pattern matching. Pattern matches are anything that automatically produces an instinctive emotional response in you. To clearly begin to see what causes pattern matches in yourself, what things you have become automatically anchored to, is to start to become really self-aware and gain real self-knowledge. Some people have difficulty committing to a relationship, even if they get on really well with the person they are seeing. They have a pattern match which emotionally connects commitment and long-term relationships with danger and being trapped. They may feel uneasy and swiftly exit the relationship. Then they may try to rationalize their behavior by suggesting the other person just wasn't right for them. This unconscious self-deception is known as cognitive dissonance. If someone does something which is at odds with what they believe to be true about themselves, they will often, if they are not being completely honest with themselves, justify and rationalize why they behaved in such a way so as to protect their self-image. So if I steal food from my friend, I might try to flatter myself by saying I had done them a favor because they eat too much anyway. Maybe there's a particular person that you always felt irritated by, even if you just see them in the street or the office. If that irritation isn't because of something they're doing in that moment, then it's become an automatic pattern match, and it may be one that's simply not rational anymore. It's not that this person is making you feel bad, it's that you are just habitually generating bad feelings as your automatic response when you see them. Understanding about how the brain works and how pattern matching influences our behavior means you can do less rationalizing and know yourself more completely. You can begin to respond to people and situations in life as they actually are, rather than as pattern matches to events in your past. This will allow you to live your life less on autopilot and to participate fully and consciously in the here and now. Now, as you prepare to go into a deeply relaxing, hypnotic trance, you can just close your eyes if you haven't already done so. And you can just enjoy beginning to take a short trip away from everyday life to a place inside where you can properly relax and learn. And as you take in full and deep breath right now, I'd like you to breathe out ever so slowly and smoothly until those lungs are empty and you feel the air naturally rolling back in all by itself. And you can just enjoy really making those out breaths very, very slow and smooth, and letting the air roll back in on the inhale as a way of letting that body know it's time to relax right now. And after you've taken a few of those nice, full, deep breaths, you can just let that conscious mind relax, because it's done its job, and that breathing can settle into its own natural rhythm. And just as a blanket of snow can cover the land in winter, and all becomes quiet and still and ever so beautiful, so a blanket of calming relaxation can begin to cover each and every part of you You can feel this comfort covering the feet and legs, wrapping around the left leg, soothing and healing, penetrating inwards. That's it. And the left arm, really relaxing. And then that right arm, a comfortable release down into the hands and fingertips, and that right leg flowing all the way down to the toes. Even the muscles of the face and scalp and the neck, all parts of you can relax deeper and deeper with every out-breath. Each and every cell, because you are many cells, and each cell knows when it's time to relax right now. You can just notice what it's like to float on the waves of comfort and unconsciously learn things of importance, to knowing yourself honestly and fully. And the philosopher David Hume once looked inside his mind to find just where his self was. And the more he looked, the more he saw that every idea he had about himself was just that, an idea. That inside his mind, he could only find idea after idea, thought after thought, ideas of the self, thoughts of the self, but not the self itself. Because of course the self itself was the one looking, the one searching, the one observing. And just as an eye cannot see itself, and the camera cannot photograph itself, so the depths of who it is you are able to be that much more comfortable and relaxed in the knowledge that behind your ideas about who you have been and who you will be is always who you are, a pure observer, having the experience of your life more and more fully and deeply. And just as a lookout post on a beach allows you to watch the ebb and flow of the water, the ever so slow drift of the clouds overhead, how a storm far out at sea can look so far off, illuminating the sky from way out there, the distant rumble of thunder. As all is quiet right here, so the observing self, the observing you, can view from a distance, calmly and comfortably, the aspects and personality traits that make up you, the talents, the flaws, like a gardener, calmly and steadily taking note of what needs weeding and cropping, and what needs watering and feeding. And how the garden can really flourish. And I'd like you to take a clear and fair look at yourself right now, as if you were standing in a particular beautiful open space with pure, clean air, perhaps near some water, plants, trees, noticing the sky above and the sense of real peace as you take steps, feeling your feet connect with the earth towards a large, full-length mirror in an ornate frame. And you can notice how the light glints off the surface of the mirror, and how each step you take towards it brings you more and more clarity and objectivity about yourself. As you see your own reflection in the mirror and realize that this mirror knows every aspect of you, and it can show you what parts of you need developing, what needs encouraging and feeding, and what needs pruning. And you could just stand a little back from that mirror to get some perspective on things, seeing your whole life's journey within it, from birth and childhood to this moment, the transformations you've been through, the different selves you've had, the work you, the social you, the family you, the private you, the playful you, the serious you, all the parts of you made clear in the profoundly vivid clarity of this mirror. And you can just look honestly and fully at yourself right now and notice how many new insights and understandings can emerge. That's it. And there are times when this new self-honesty is going to really benefit you in your future. Because if I think I can speak fluent Russian, but I actually can't speak a word of it, I'll never take the time to actually begin learning it. Because developing your potential always begins with a fair and kind and true self-honesty that incorporates your many potentials, but it is also objective about which potentials you have developed so far and which ones you haven't. Yet, you can now begin to consider a time in the future, perhaps when something doesn't work out so well, or when someone reacts very strongly to you, and how that calm objectivity is going to help you. No need to try to flatter yourself. No need to try to criticize yourself, because you can get some distance on it. And I'd like you to watch a future you, perhaps in a difficult future situation, and notice how the thought of that mirror, that sense of watching a storm that's way out at sea, gives that future you the clarity they need to deal with that future situation resourcefully. And then you can just step right into this future you, being in this future situation, but feeling this clarity and objectivity about yourself and the situation. A calm, fair, detached evaluation that opens up new and useful ways of responding that you wouldn't have considered in the past. That's it. And really learning as you do how this is going to benefit you in many parts of your life. How that mirror of self-knowledge is going to come to mind at times when it's appropriate and give you the objectivity you need to really be your best. And then you can just begin to return to the here and now, bringing back all the learnings with you and feeling pleasantly refreshed and alert. That's it. Awakening fully at the count of 5. And 1, 2, and just coming back to this present moment. And 3, and 4. Noticing the position of your body and whatever's supporting it. And 5, just opening your eyes and feeling wide awake.